My issue is with the land, is that no one willingly gives their land away and says, here's the land, even the Iwi wouldn't say, here's the land, you build on it, I don't get a say. There is no written insurance that we get to put our own people who need those homes, who live in those communities, into those properties. Māori, non-Māori, it needs to be for our community.
And the space that we're in at the moment isn't the space that we began at. And as you read through this agenda item and the timelines of discussions, you will see that we started off with one intention and we ended up completely in a different outcome. If this is another report that leads us in a direction, it doesn't necessarily point out all the facts. That's the issue. If you're reading this from a new council perspective, and even you, Mayor, you get an opinion, but it doesn't give us the facts from the beginning. The Ohakuni spatial plan came out in March 2022. 2 new medium density zones around Christie Park, the junction, and in proximity to schools should address matters such as access, daylight, green space, acoustic privacy, visual privacy, storage, and outdoor living space. And the map on page 3 of the Ohakuni spatial plan that we got the other day has no high density development for Teitei Drive area. We weren't thinking about it back then. Do I think that the Ohakuni community has been adequately consulted? No, they've actually been deceived. I think that once this whole project had morphed into what we have here today, it breached our significant policy. We meet the high impact on the first 5 determining aspects. Without a doubt, we breach our significant policy with this current proposal that's in place now, using the arguments on page 44 and 45. When we were advised that it didn't breach our policy, it was based on 6 houses at Cherry Groves. How we've got to where we are now, this proposal breaches it, and we need to consult with our community. As a second-term councillor, now with more experience about this, I believe this decision breached our significant policy without a doubt. It's definitely been about a series of moving goalposts, trying to fit a brief while meeting impossible deadlines, keeping government ministers and officials happy and meeting their needs, so trying to keep that end goal of more houses in Ruapehu at the forefront. We've been forced to do it in confidence, which meant proper consultation was impossible. And I think we've made a mistake and not done the right things by our ratepayers. If we had had proper consultation, everyone could have had a fair say, and then we would have made the hard deliberation, but it would be democratic and inclusive. The other major concern I have about this proposal by HNZ to build 44 houses on ratepayers' land and then give them to Kaingaroa to manage is that the plan will not meet our laws, our bylaws, let alone the spatial plan for Ohakuni. This has been a really convoluted, awkward process and left us as the council using ratepayers' land, but 300 square metre sections won't allow for acoustic privacy, visual privacy, outdoor living space. It's a high density urban development in a rural mountain ski town. If you force us to make a call, Weston, you started this conversation by explaining that you put this report on our agenda today because of your commitment to that Ohakuni community. So if you hadn't put it on the agenda, we wouldn't be going yay or nay, definitely today. If you force us to make a call between putting this on hold to allay some of these justifiable concerns or going ahead as is, I'm going to be voting to terminate the agreement. I'd rather we let the matter lie on the table and engage effectively and honestly with the community in a proper consultation process. The $5.7 million, that carrot has been dangling in front of us, and we didn't have to come up with this decision now, and I don't think that we do. We still do, and I'd rather let it lie on the table, and if you don't agree to let it lie on the table, then I'll be voting against.
I think I would like to see some more research in having the buildings instead of right where they are. I think that we need to look at moving it over closer to further over into the development, into the area. And so that the into the corner in that corner, and so the access will come out to Ruapehu Road. And because there's so much dissension within the community and around this table, says to me that we do need more consultation. I'm saying that we need to stop. I think we need to just take a deep breath and have another look, have some consultation. And I agree with Lynn wholeheartedly that I think we need to defer this.
Lynn's covered what I was going to say. Fiona's covered what I was going to say. This is a really difficult decision. If it's a difficult decision because we don't know what the process for the resource consent is. My issue is with the land and the size of the homes. It's really teeny. So I don't know if we actually get the answers we want in the resource consent is what I'm saying. So I'm agreeing to let it lie on the table.
If there's an intention to have a motion lie on the table, then I'm quite happy to accept that. If it's lost, then it comes back to the initial motion. You have the right as a majority to vote this down if you wish, right?
I did move that. I moved that the motion lie on the table.
And I second that.
My understanding is my initial understanding was, well, my list as well, that notice of motion supersedes the existing motion.
We consider the motion that's on, it's been put, it's been seconded, it's then voted on. If it's lost, then someone could say, rather than cancel the project, because we don't have that as a motion, it's the other way around. It's like the second one, at the moment we've offered you go ahead or cancel the contract. If the go ahead one is lost, then someone else could say, rather than cancel, we laid it lie on the table, but we do need to vote on the first one, which is first.
Well, my understanding is that if we get to a point where we don't want to make a decision, then it lies on the table. That's my understanding. So you don't actually vote on it. That's my understanding.
Well, no, it would be.
Made a resolution.
But if this is moved, and the original motion that I'm talking about, if that is put to the council and is actually carried, then we proceed.
That's right.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as lying on the table after that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I don't quite get what has been suggested there. My understanding is that if we can't make a decision on it today, then it lay on the table. That means we don't vote on it.
Through the chair, we've got a motion which is we proceed. If that is lost, then the other option that was given is that we cancel the contract. What I'm hearing is rather than cancel the contract today, they're saying let's it lie on the table so that we consider it again. But the decision today, though, which is you put, is to proceed with the development.
Okay, if we're comfortable with that, then I'm quite happy to go ahead with that too. So then can we assume discussion around the table, and those who have not spoken like to speak before we have a right of reply?
I agree with Lynn and Deputy Mayor. I think we haven't done enough consultation, so we're hearing that at every meeting we go to. Even on the street, people are still confused about what's happening. When you talk about Airbnbs, we're half the problem why we courted all those people to bring Airbnbs into town, because we wanted the accommodation, we wanted people to come in here. So we can't blame the B&Bs now for what they're doing. The hotels and the motels couldn't keep up with the number of people that were coming into town. None of them have offered to build a 500-room hotel. So we've had to take on the B&Bs. We've put on the deed tax. I live on a quarter-acre section, but around me there's 300 square metre sections, and there's only a house on there. There's nothing else. It's just a house. By the time you bring it in 1 metre in, 2 metres up, it's a small house. There's no room for anything else on those houses. So we're lucky that some people, hard-working Kiwis, brought the sections next door and left them as a green space so that the kids can go and play on them. At the meeting, the public meeting we had here, afterwards, myself and Deputy Mayor, we met with a couple of people with the Rollistons. They said, why don't you talk to the Mayor of Rotorua? Because I've already been there and done that. So I arranged for a Zoom meeting with Mayor Tania Tapsil. We were just trying to find out what they did wrong, what we could do better. That's what it was all about. She has a connection to Ruapehu. She's married to an Ruapehu man. She knows the Carrot Park. She knows what we're talking about. I'm more keen for it to be at the rugby club end. And I see that. I thank you for the email that you sent the other day, Clive, about the costing of what would it cost us to put the road out that way. I reckon that's a grand idea. It's going to cost a bit more money, but it's going to take, it would take traffic out of the Carrot Park. I look at those sections. Yeah, there's a lot of 300 square metre sections, and at that meeting, I took a few of the councillors down there and we peeked out what a 300 metre section looks like. That's stupid. It's all right if you want to have a little hut there for maybe a single person, because don't forget, New Zealand's got the worst car to family ratio, the second worst car to family ratio in the world. So if you think only one car is going to park in those driveways, you know, you're on the wrong planet. When I was up in Tamarua yesterday, I was looking around. There was some people had 3 or 4 cars in their property. You know, not that all of them were going. I'm all for the housing, but I think we should need to sit it on the table
And have consultation.
Yes.
Put it through the consultation.
I've listened to all my colleagues and I echo a lot of them. I've listened to the speakers and I definitely get what they're saying. Now, I am concerned about the 350 size, which is against our district plan, and there is the safety element. I've got grandchildren and I wouldn't like to think that they would be crossing over into dangerous line of traffic. That would also be another point that would need to be raised. I would like for all of us to be able to agree unanimously, and I think the only way we can do with this is to sit. It's my opinion.
Certainly.
Lane.
Absolutely support the consultation process again on our behalf has been shocking. So I'm happy to support the motion that's been put forward, putting this on the table until we go back to our people and get the whakaaro of the community. I think we need to do a better process around that. So my whakaaro, my thoughts, Mayor, we need to go back to the consultation process.
Fiona Chase has recommended, or sorry, she's moved that 2A, which is to continue with the proposal. That was her motion. It was seconded. We've had speakers for or against. And so please don't get confused with the talk about it lying on the table. That is not the case at the moment. We're not dealing with that particular item or even suggestion. But what we are dealing with now is the motion that's on the table. So you need to understand that before you vote. That's the point. Okay. So Fiona is speaking for, has spoken for. She's now going to be giving a right to reply to the other issues, but she is in favour of this motion 1 and 2A, which is to continue with the process. So you need to be quite clear and comfortable when you come to vote. Let's make that point.
I'm happy to support Hedley Chase's recommendation that she's put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I'll just give you a heads up, I once again going to be supporting this motion. So with that, the debate's closed so that it gives the opportunity for the right to reply. Talked about now, we now get to a point where we do vote for the motion. So perhaps we should clearly read that out so that people understand exactly what we're dealing with here today.
Yeah, through the chair. So the motion that is currently on the table is that we receive the report and resolve to continue with the proposed Tay Drive housing development.
Okay. We moved and seconded, we've heard the debate. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Now, please.
Yep. And through the chair, Councillor Errico, can you confirm that that is for the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
And against? 3 and
the
Vivian, your hand there, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Okay, the motion's carried.
recorded, please.
Thank you. Recorded.